Hey guys, Kingin here. Welcome to the second part of the capsule jar tutorial. And in this video, we're going to be learning how to create the capsules and how to fill them into the jar. And we are also going to be learning how to prepare a scene and also how to prepare our rendering. So we are going to prepare the scene and we're going to render them out in this same tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friend that you know that will want to learn how to use Blender. Your support means a lot to me. It's an encouragement for me to keep on doing this. Thank you so much as you do that. So welcome guys to this second part of the video. This part of the video we're going to be creating the capsules and then filling them into this jar. So remember in the last video, I was telling you about EV rendering and circle rendering. I was telling that the reason why it's looking like this is because it's on EV rendering. So this is where it is on your render engine EV. If you change it to circle, you see that it's looking much more better. Looking much more better. So let's take it back to EV to give us a smoother rendering. So you see. So now back in EV, now we want to create the capsule. So first things first, what we're going to do is Shift A, Mesh, Round Cube. So mine already, came in as a capsule automatically, but for yours, it might not be like that. So Control Z, Shift A, Mesh, Round Cube. So on the properties over here, you see this operator presets, change yours to capsule. So once you click on the preset, change it to capsule, and then you should have this already. So you can change it, you can change anything, cube, whatever this is, whatever this is. But for us, we are working with capsule, so we change it to capsule. So now we have our good looking capsule. So shade smooth. So I always advise to put your capsule on top your jar so that you can see it, like visualize the size, the actual size that the capsule is supposed to be in, so as to help you have the direction of what the size should look like. So click on S to scale. So scale it down till it's visually appealing or visually makes sense to you. So I think this is good. This is looking good. So what we're going to do now, we're going to add the material to the capsule. So come here, shader editor, click on new, change the base color. You can change your base color basically to any color you want, but for me, I'm working with green. Let me zoom into, for me, I'm working with green. So I think this color is looking good for me. Just, yeah, I think, okay, this color is looking good for me. Reduce the roughness to almost 0, but not 0. Very close to 0. This is looking all fine. But if you are familiar with capsules, you know that they don't like look this smooth. So there's always one of the other half on top the other, to fill in what the content that are inside. So we are going to create that, that illusion of the cuts that happens. Come on, if you're familiar with capsules, you know what I'm talking about. So how to do that is you click on the capsule, go to edit mode, click on any of the head, then you click Ctrl R to add a loop cut. While still on the center, you double click, that's left click 2 times so that the loop cut can maintain the position here. So you click on Ctrl R again to bring in another loop cut, left click once, Then you drag this close to the other loop cut. Then S to scale. So now I'm going to scale it out. So it's going to look like it is, covering so you're going to see the one on top is covering the one below. So scale it, not too much. Don't be crazy about it, but just tiny bits. Let it look, realistic. Let's still drag this down. Okay. So create another loop cut, Control R. Oh, sorry, not there. Create another loop cut at the top, Control R. No, left click. Then you drag. You're going to drag this loop cut close to that edge to give it that sharp look. So after we're done with that, go back to object mode. So if you zoom out, you see how it's looking now, much more better. Much more better. You know it's looking like an actual capsule right now. This is much, much, much more better. So now it's time to fill the capsule into the jar. But first we have to hide this jar. Also hide it from camera. So the next step now is to fill in these capsules into this jar. So to do that, you click on the capsule, click on modifier, add modifier, and then add your array. So what this array does is that it creates like duplicates of the original uh, object that you're working with. So if you change the count to 20, for example, it gives us 20 different duplicates of the original object you are working with. So why this relative offset is just deals with the spacing according to the axis. So on x-axis now, which is where they are all facing, because all the other axes are in 0. So on x-axis, if you increase this, you see, the more you increase it, the farther away they are from each other. So let's just keep this at 1.4. And obviously we're not going to do 20. I'm going to keep this at 2. I keep the count at 2. This is looking good. So we'll bring in another array, add array. Now we'll have to make the x-axis now 0. Then on the y-axis, you do the same 1.4. 1.4 now is looking good. Then for the y-axis, we're going to make it 3 counts. 3 count. This is looking good. So we're going to bring in our final array. Click again. Array. Now we're going to be working on the z-axis. So on the z-axis, 1.2. Okay. Now we'll make this count about 40, because we want it to fill in the jar. And for it to fill in the jar, the capsule have to be enough. So let's properly align the capsules at the center of the jar. So on the z-axis, view, align it properly. So for most of you that are not getting, this guy here, so how to, get it is to go to your gizmo here. Then under object gizmo, you click on move. See, when I uncheck it, it's out, check it is in. So you can either check in your rotation, your scale, whatever. But for me, move is okay. So what this means that if you click on any object, the gizmo just comes out automatically on any object. So just in case you're wondering how I got that. So that's that for that. So now, one thing to notice here is that even though we have more than 40, more than 80 capsules here, they are still one object, one mesh here. You can see that. So even if you click on this one, it's still the same mesh. So we are going to separate them to make them different, so that we can work with them and fill the jar with them separately. So to do that is quite simple. Start by applying all the arrays. Apply, apply. So after applying them, you can see that they are, they are still together. So what to do next is go to edit mode. Now you see in edit mode, they now have their own separate loops. You can see them around. So what to do next is click on anywhere and then tap A on your keyboard to select all. Then once you selected all, you tap on P on your keyboard to separate. You separate by loose parts. So you see now, they are all separated. All separated. If you go back to object mode, you can see they are all separated, all individuals. This is beautiful. But one other thing to notice is that even though they are all separated, their origin point is still on the original mesh. So how to fix that? Quite simple. Select all, select everything. Then you go to object, set original, you say original to geometry. Now, if you click on anyone, their geometries are now on them. Sorry, their origins are now on them. I said original, origin. So the origins are now on them, which is perfect. So now we are done with separating the capsules. Now we need to put them into the jar. So first of all, we are going to link all the objects together. Go to edit mode. So you see that if you click here, G, when you drag it out, it only affects this capsule alone, only affecting this capsule alone. But right now, we want it to happen in such a way that if you click on any object and you move, all the capsules are going to, have the same effect, done to them. So that's going to help us to, adding the effect of the capsules dropping into the jar. So to do that, it's quite simple. Go back to object mode. Select all the objects. Select all the objects with one of them active. Then you go to object over here. You click on link and transfer. Then you click on link object data. So once you click on that, if you go to edit mode, click on any place. Once you move it, you see they are all moving. They are all moving. So this is all we want to do. So go back to object mode. Still clicking on this, capsule here. We'll go to physics, rigid body, leave the type as active, change the shape to capsule. Now, if you see, it has given the capsule shape around this capsule. So if you go to your timeline over here and you tap on the play button, you could see that it's falling down into the jar, but it's not actually falling into the jar, it is falling out of the jar. So see, out of the jar. So we're going to fix that later on as we proceed in the video. But first things first, we need to make all of them fall like the way this one is falling. So with this one actively selected, select it. That one being actively selected, we are going to now shift, drag, select every other capsule. Then this one is selected. We'll go to object. In object, we'll look for rigid body. Under rigid body, you say to copy from active. So once you have done that, if you go to your timeline again and you hit play, all the capsules fall. But now, how do we make them fall into the jar? The capsules are falling, but they're not falling into the jar. So how to fix this is quite simple. Click on the jar, go to rigid body. Now on the type for the jar, you change it from active to passive. So you change the jar type to passive. Then on the shape, you change it to mesh. With that being done, once you hit on the play button, now they are falling into the jar. But for some reason, our capsules were way too much. So in order for us to, reduce that, we'll zoom out, select some of the capsules on top here, hit delete, you know. So let's see if this will fill it up. So on your timeline again, hit play. Um, Still too much. Still too much. So we'll do the same thing again that we did. So let's delete this guy. So let's see again. Play. Okay, so I think this is perfect. It fills up the jar perfectly. Perfectly. So let me click this guy, delete, delete, just randomly delete. So let's see them fall again. Let's see. Good, good. So change the render to circle. Okay, filled up. I don't like having the jar so filled up. So just click on the ones that are, all around the place and then delete them. I think this is looking pretty good, by the way. This is looking good already. I'm loving what I'm seeing. So back to EV, putting the cover back. What we are going to do now is that I'm going to select, you know, all the capsules, select all the capsules. We'll go to objects, rigid body. Then rigid body, we'll look for bake to keyframe. So click on bake to keyframe. So what this does actually is that it's going to help us maintain a particular keyframe. When you play the timeline, it has that loop of falling. So this baking keyframe, what it basically means is that you are telling Blender that these guys should maintain only one keyframe throughout, however you want to use them. So with 250 as our end keyframe, we'll change this to 249. So what it means basically is that they are all going to be inside the jar no matter what happens. So if you notice, let's go back to circle. So if you notice, if you click on the bottle and you move it, the jar moves, but the capsule remains. So how do we fix this? How do we make everything to be one? So go back to EV. So with the jar, the main jar itself being the active object, you shift, drag to select everything. So you control P to parent, and then you say parent object keep transform. So keep transform. So you click on that. It keeps the transform. Now, all of this have become one. So the bottle, everything have become one. So So it has become one. That's beautiful. So now if you click on the jar and you move it, everything moves together. Everything moves together. So now we're going to create a beautiful scene for our rendering. So let's put all this into a collection. Go into a collection. So say right click, new collection, and then move all this into the collection. So say capsule. Yes, so we have that now. So now is to create our scene. So we're going to be using a cylinder as the footer to where the capsule jar will be sitting on. So Shift A, mesh, cylinder. So scale it very well. Drag it down, place it properly under here. Let's be quite careful. So I think this is perfect. I think this is perfect. This is perfect. Okay, so this is okay. This is okay. So let's shade smooth this guy under subdivision, generate, let's say bevel, let's add 100 segments. This is looking good. This is looking good. So let's add a background, Shift A, plane, scale, scale it up. So now let's rotate it. So R to rotate along the y-axis on 90 degrees. So R, Y, 90. So that is R to rotate, Y is the axis, 90 is the degrees. So let's drag this back so we can have a very good placement. Have a very good placement. Let's still scale this up. Let's still scale up. Yeah, so I think this is good basically. This is good. So let's bring in our camera, lock it here. So for some of you that are still using the old version of Blender, you might not have this lock, camera button here. Or how to do it on your version, click on N on your keyboard, go to View, see local camera, say lock to camera view. So once you click on that, it is equivalent to being locked here. So when you unclick it, see the button is unlocked, and you click it again, it's locked. So just in case I'm not using the new version of Blender, this is where you can get that feature from. But I advise you get the new version of Blender. So tap on N again on the keyboard. So back into camera view. So lock it. Go off the camera. So with this being done, so let's add material for the background and the shall I say the stand. So let's get the material for the background and the stand. So go here, shader editor, new base color. Let's still work with the green brand, green brand, green brand. So change this to very bright. So increase the roughness some more. Give it a little bit of metallic shade. Do the same for the background. I think I want to just maintain the color of the background. increase the roughness, increase the metallic side of it. So let's change the render from EV to circle. Let's see how that looks. It's looking good. It's looking good. So let's create that open cover effect. So click on the bottle. But first things first, select every part of the bottle and select the footer and the background. Or better still, just click on the. You know what? Let's just lock. Let's just lock this guy. So lock, lock, then select all. So with all of this selected, click on Shift D, drag. So Ctrl Z, Shift D. On the Y axis, you drag. So click on the cover. Remove the cover. Remove the cover. So go back to camera view. So yes, so now we have this. So now we have this. Isn't this looking beautiful? Let's click on this. Let's rotate it so that to give it another positioning. So just something just look the same. Okay, this is good. How to create the capsules flying around effect? So all you need to do is just select a random capsule inside this jar or any jar, then Shift D to duplicate, drag it out. So drag it out. So let's change this circle to EV. Let's go off camera mode so we can see better. So drag it out. But you can see that there's a line showing. So this line indicates that this capsule is still parented to this bottle. How do I mean? If you move this now, the capsule moves alongside, and that's not what we want. We want the capsule to float on its own while the jar, is on its own. So to do that, we'll click on the capsule, go to Objects, look for Parent, then you say Clear Parent, but you say Clear Parent and Keep Transformation. So click on that. So what that does is that it maintains wherever the capsule is. If you just click on Clear Parent, this capsule will come back to where it was initially inside the jar. So now we have that. So let's click on this. Shift D, just duplicate. Shift D, Shift D, Shift D, Shift D, Shift D, Shift D, Shift D. So Shift click on all of these capsules, right click, and then you say move to collection, new collection, and then we'll say flow. Just any name you want to call it basically, but just call it flow. So what that did is that it gave us another collection with the name flow. So now if we want to select any of the capsules that we're duplicating, it's easy. Just come here. So it's easy for us to know the capsule that we are dealing with because there are capsules inside the jar and there are capsules floating out. So with all this, all this, right click, select object. So with all these capsules selected, shift D to bring more in. So select object. So now we have all of them now selected, which is looking good already to me. So what to do now to make them look even more better? We'll go into camera view, object with the capsule still selected, go to object, transform, and then we'll click on randomize transform. So on the panel here, you randomize it anyhow. So what you do that as you are changing the values, it's just changing randomly. It's not like going any particular way. So all of them are just moving at their own, pace. So 200 location, scatter it like that. So no direction basically. They're just, floating like Tony and Young. So it's being satisfied with that. I think I'm satisfied with that. So we'll do the same thing again. Click on flow, right click, select object. Now we selected everything. So let's bring this close to the camera as possible so that to help our depth of field effects. So let's view from camera, So now we have to, they're looking so much, so much. So we'll be picking them one after the other to delete them to make, but this is basically what we are working with. Just delete them one after the other, to align them the way we like. For instance, this guy over here, I like where he is. So I think I kind of want it to come closer. So I think this is okay. So I think this is good. So it's good here. So I want to delete this guy. I want to delete this guy. I want to delete this guy here. I want to delete this guy here. Let me drag this guy like somewhere here. Yeah. Delete, delete this, delete this. So just fine tune your scene, to what best suits what you want. For me, I think I'm satisfied. I think I'm satisfied with the way this is looking. So delete. I think I like this. So click on the camera. Click on your camera. Is either you click on the camera, or if you're in the camera view, just click on the line here and it automatically selects your camera. So click on your camera, go to camera properties. You can see if your depth of field here is not checked, click on check. That is what is giving the blur effect to anything that is not focusing. So click on that. So it's when you click on it first and it goes wild. Yes. So reduce this very well, like increase it, then you click on this speaker and then you tell it to pick here. So once it picks it, automatically the camera now knows that this is what it's focusing on. Every other thing around it, blurs out. But if the blur is not enough for you, you can go to the f-stop. You can reduce the f-stop more. If you increase it, everything becomes sharper. But if you reduce it. You see, you're giving it that depth of field that it needs. So with our scene, created, so now it's time to render. Go to camera view, go to render, change from EV to circle. Now we are going to look at see it in an even more beautiful way. Wow, this is looking so beautiful. So to start, it's time to set up the render. So and make this circle, you go to device, it was as a CPU, put it in GPU. It's faster when it's in GPU. I think every other thing is cool, every other thing is good. So you go to the output. So basically this is where you are telling Blender how to, give you your image, like how you want your image to be. So for resolutions, you can click here. There are some built-in presets, HD 720p, HD 720p. See, it has taken effect. If you want 4K, so this is just um basically default presets to help your camera. So 4K DCI, 4K or try any one you want to use. So so come here. So this is where you tell Blender, okay, this is the frame I want to render or whatever. But we are not rendering animations. So it's when you render animation that you worry about this because it's a frame starts, frame ends, frame step. So here is if you want to render your animation, but we didn't do any animation. And speaking of animation, there's going to be a third video, a part 3 of this video, where I'm going to be teaching you how to animate this. We're going to be doing some cool animations with this capsule. So please stick around. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friend that you know that will want to learn how to use Blender. Your support means a lot to me. It's an encouragement for me to keep on doing this. Thank you so much as you do that. So back to render. So output. So this is where you tell Blender that, oh, I want this to be saved anywhere, maybe in download, anywhere. So this is where you pick a folder that you want Blender to save your image or your animation or whatnot. So here, how many frames per second, blah blah blah. They told you, might not really do that. So go back to render, go to sampling. So sampling is when you tell Blender how many times you want them to, sample your image for you. So the higher the sampling amount, the clearer your image is basically. But for me, I work with 200. I don't know. You can choose to work with 1000. The default actually is 4000. So you can choose to work with the default 4000, whatever. But for me, 200 works for me, and I've been using 200 for a while. So, and it really works for me. So come here under render, you click on max sample 200, minimum sample 0. Then your denoiser, you check it. So this viewport here is basically how it's going to be rendered here. So there's no, basically you're not going to be dealing with this guy. Like I don't know, but just for you to know that this is where you set up how you want your viewport to be, viewed, and this is how this is where you set up your render. So it's 200 as my sampling. So let's go here, click on render, render image. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. And I know that you've learned a lot from the first part to this part. Like I said, there's going to be a third part, which is the animation, teaching us how to animate every single thing in this scene, both the capsules flying around and even the jar itself. So thank you very much for sticking around. See you next time.